on the outside, you've got everyday scenes happening, but actually the nonverbal communication is loaded with this very potent situation. And I think that makes for a wonderful challenge as a performer, that you have a lot of nonverbal communication, which is raging.
It's awesome to meet you. Congratulations on this film.
Thank you.
First of all, I'm curious, how much of Emma's portrayal of Marion did you observe before shooting your scenes? And what specifically did you aim to either emulate or change?
I saw about 3, maybe 4 of her scenes which had been rough cut, which she had already shot. And that was a really interesting resource. And so I kind of watched them over and over again. And although there isn't a sort of prescriptive routine it was like osmosis somehow. There's something about the way Emma, as a person, certainly as a performer, listens and watches. She has a very beguiling thing that she does, which I was really interested in. So I kind of watched that, and that became a useful touchstone. We also talked on the telephone, and we collectively had a Zoom afternoon where we listened to various elements of what Michael had in mind and talked together. So that was really, really good. And I think the distillation of having to work that way was good because it really makes you focus.
And what was the most challenging part for you about playing the older version of this character?
I think the most challenging part, but it's actually the most almost, I don't know, enjoyable, delicious part, is that you've got a dynamic, a domestic dynamic in a very confined home where on the outside, you've got everyday scenes happening, but actually the nonverbal communication is loaded with this very potent situation. And I think that makes for a wonderful challenge as a performer, that you have a lot of nonverbal communication, which is raging. But on the outside, you've got everyday life being presented.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, what did you imagine was Marion's internal conflict while living with Tom in the 90s? And how did that impact your performance?
I think there's something interesting about the nature of love and all of the different kinds of love that we can have and experience. And it's something that we talked about quite a lot in terms of what kind of love Tom and Marion have had over the decades. And it's certainly been an incredibly dedicated, devoted love to one another, particularly, I think, from Marion, who feels a huge sense of duty. But I think ultimately what she has to admit is that their love is born out of solace. And that solace, although it's been a very useful, comforting retreat, it can't be forever.
And I think it's interesting that one of the first scenes we see in the movie is when Marion brings Patrick back to their house. In your mind, what drives her to do that? And in the present day, after them not seeing each other for so long?
There's a few things, one of which is, it's very easy to have day-to-day life fill up your every waking moment. And it's easy to hide. I think when we meet Marion in 1999, I think what's potent is that she is retired now. And we talked about how she has heard about Patrick's situation. And those two elements mean that time is of the essence. And I think that she knows that they cannot continue without addressing the past.
And when Marion leaves Tom and Patrick together at the end, do you believe she makes up for maybe the damage that she caused previously and sort of gives them a happy ending? Or do you feel like it was maybe too late at that point?
I don't know. I think that's for audiences to decide. My hope, and I did feel this when we were working on it, is that there is hope for all 3 of them. I think that there's no doubt that there's hope for Marion. And I hope that Patrick and Tom can find what they need together.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Gina. Congrats on the film, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Madeline. It's nice to meet you.
Great meeting you too.